It is enshrined in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights that the family is the natural and fundamental group unit of society and is entitled to protection by society and the state.
Ngunit nakalulungkot isipin na marami sa mga bansang lumagda sa deklarasyong ito ay siya rin naman mga lugar na kung saan laganap at legal ang diborsyo, euthanasia, homosexual o same-sex marriages, contraception, abortion, mga bagay na patuloy na humahamon sa larawan at kalikasan ng Kristiyanong pamilya.
Dahil dito, sunod-sunod na mga dokumentong pampamilya ang ipinahayag ng ating simbahan upang tulungan tayong tugunan ang iba't ibang mga isyu na kinaharap ng bawat pamilya. Hindi exempted dito ang ating bansa sa mga suliraning ito. Even though it is written in the supreme law that the state recognizes the sanctity of family life and shall protect and strengthen the family as a basic autonomous social institution, marami sa atin ang nakakaranas ng mga suliraning maaring maging daan ng tuluyang pagkawasak ng ating pamilya.
Sampung taon matapos ang Second Plenary Council of the Philippines, idinaos sa Archdiocese ng Maynila ang National Pastoral Consultation on Church Renewal noong Enero 22 hanggang 27, 2001. Sa pagpupulong na ito, naging resolusyon na paigtingin ng simbahan ang kanyang mga programang pastoral, lalo tigit yung mga tumutugon sa mga programang pagpapamilya.
Bilang pagtugon, sumulat ng isang liham pastoral ang dating kardinal ng Pilipinas na si Jaime Cardinal Sin upang tukuyin ang mga family issues na ito at bigyang diin ang pananaw ng ating pananampalatayang Kristiyano sa buhay pagpapamilya. Mula nang naganap ang World Meeting of Families sa ating bansa noong taong 2003, mabilis na lumaganap ang mga seminars at conferences sa tulong ng iba't ibang mga tagapagsalita na sumuri at nag-aral sa mga isyong tinukoy ng ating mahal na kardinal sa kanyang liham pastoral na pinamagatang Subtle Attacks Against the Family and Life.
Bilang pagtugon sa mga hamong iniwan ng liham pastoral ng dating Arsobispo ng Maynila, Jaime Cardinal Sin, inilunsad sa Archdiocese ng Maynila ang programang SAFE o Subtle Attacks Against the Family Explained. Ito pong SAFE seminar ay binubuo ng mga 7 mahalagang paksa na tumutukoy sa mga bagay-bagay hinggil sa buhay pagpapamilya tulad ng demography, human sexuality, the gospel of life, New Age spirituality, pornography and violence in the mass media, sex education, at marriage and family according to God's plan. Ang SAFE seminar na ito ay ngayon ay pinagpapatuloy ng Ministry for Family and Life of the Archdiocese of Manila.
Ang ating minamahal na pangkasalukuyang Arsobispo ng Maynila, Gaudencio Cardinal Rosales, ay buong pusong sumusuporta sa mga programang nagpapatibay ng pamilya. Ito lamang ang paraan upang mapagtibay din natin ang ating lipunan at simbahan, sapagkat ang pamilya ay tinaguri ang pangunahing unit ng lipunan at bilang munting simbahan. Ano nga ba ang dahilan kung bakit ginawa ng Diyos ang tao na may kasarian? May isa-isa ba ito sa ating buhay o sa hinaharap nating kinabukasan? Ilan lamang po ang mga bagay na ito na patuloy na bumabagabag sa puso at isipan ng marami sa atin hinggil sa usapin ng kasarian at sexualidad. Marami rin na nagsasabi na hindi na dapat magsalita pa ang simbahan tungkol sa mga bagay-bagay na ito. Isang ina ang ating simbahan, kaya naman bilang isang ina, kahit ano pa ang katanungang maaaring bumabagabag sa isip ng kanyang mga anak, lalo na kung makakaapekto ito sa kanilang buhay pananampalataya, nakahanda ang simbahan para magbigay linaw para sa mga naghahanap ng kasagutan. Sa isyu ng sexualidad, nag-iwan si Pope John Paul II ng isang mayamang katuruan na kanyang tinawag The Theology of the Body. Dito, ipinaunawa niya ang napakagandang plano ng Diyos para sa buhay, pamilya at sexualidad. In the first pages of the Bible, we read of the flood that devastated the world and everything in it. But Noah and his family were saved because they were safe aboard the ship that God instructed Noah to build. In the New Testament, the apostles too feared for their lives as they were tossed about by winds and waves one violent night on the sea. But they too were safe because Jesus decided to be with them. Today, the family and individual men and women are experiencing a new kind of flood, a different kind of winds and waves, all of which obscure God's vision for the humanity and the family. The flood of error, of misunderstanding, of ignorance, the violent winds and waves of moral relativism. But we too, just like Noah and the apostles, can be safe if we remain safe aboard the ship of God's will for humanity and the family. I am Father Joel Hason, Minister for the Ministry of Family and Life of the Archdiocese of Manila. Welcome to our program called Safe Aboard, a series of educational Catholic videos instructing the family on the different issues affecting the Filipino family of today. Today I will be speaking to you about the topic respecting the truth about human sexuality. Ito pong ating pag-uusapang ito ay mga bagay-bagay na may kinalaman sa ating pagsasabuhay ng ating pagiging lalaki, ng ating mga pagiging mga babae. Let me begin this way. Alam niyo po kapag kinakausap ko yung mga tao, most of the time tinatanong ko sila, what comes to your mind when you hear the word man or woman? Or male or female. And then most of the time din makikita ko they give me a surprise look na parang sinasabi nila, Father, araw-araw ko naririnig yung mga salitang yan pero I find it hard to distinguish between them. At mas magugulat pa sila kapag tinanong ko sila, how do you now distinguish between the word sex, for example, and sexuality? At anong kinalaman nito dun sa tinatawag nating our vocation to love? Today, what we hope to achieve is after this talk, after this conversation, we will be able to clarify the meaning of these words and hopefully apply them and help us to appreciate the way we live our lives as men and women. When we talk about human sexuality, ang una nating malalaman is sexuality has something to do with the sense of fulfillment. Okay? Alam po ninyo, yung mga Hudyo, meron silang kasabihan, and it goes this way. A man is never complete unless he has sired a son, written a poem, and planted a tree. Okay? Bakit sire a son? Kasi sa mentality nila, even in the olden times, kapag ikaw ay nagkaroon ng anak, lalong-lalo na kapag ito ay lalaki, yung iyong espiritu, yung alaala mo ay nagpapatuloy, especially when you have a son. Okay? Kaya maraming mga kultura na ang kanilang unang-unang hiling isana, my firstborn child will be a boy, so that my legacy as a person will continue. Dito sa seminaryo ng San Carlos, marami ako nakakausap na mga tatay. Ayaw nilang papasukin sa seminaryo ang kanilang anak. Bakit? Kasi sabi nila, kapag pumasok daw ng seminaryo, hindi na magpapatuloy yung kanilang lahi. So yan, a sense of fulfillment. We want to prolong our legacy. How about writing a poem? Okay? Whenever you write a poem, and whenever that poem is continuously recited or learned in schools, nagpapatuloy din yung alaala ng sumulat. Halimbawa, I see trees all around me now. Sasabihin natin, I think that I shall never see a poem as lovely as a tree. Whenever you hear that, automatically sasabihin ninyo, sinulat yan ni Joyce Kilmer. At tama, because whenever we study that poem, naaalala natin yung sumulat. Okay? How about yung planted a tree? Okay? Kapag umuwi ako sa bahay, yung nanay ko lagi sinasabi sa akin, alam mo, yung punong yan, itinanim yan ng lolo mo. So, ganun din. Whenever we see a tree, and as long as that tree is alive, kung sino ang nagtanim at nagpunla ng punong iyon, ay laging naaalala. So, that is what we mean when we talk about the sense of fulfillment. Okay? And then after the sense of fulfillment, mahalaga din sa ating mga tao, yung tinatawag nating sense of creativity and generativity. Bilang mga tao, gusto nating malaman na meron tayong nalikha, na meron tayong nabuo. And when we realize that, it makes us fulfilled as persons. May kinalaman yan in the way we live our lives as sexual beings. And then after fulfillment, creativity, generativity, ang lahat ng ito ay nalalagom doon sa powerful human emotion which we call love. Kasi kapag ikaw ay nagmahal, at kapag ikaw ay minahal, that is the beginning that you feel fulfilled. You also feel creative. You also feel generative. Itong mga bagay-bagay na ito ay mga elemento na nasa ilalim ng tinatawag nating human sexuality. Pero kapag pinag-uusapan po natin yung human sexuality, what is important for us to distinguish as may dalawang elemento po ito. The first element is what we call the biological aspect. And then the second element is what we will call the relational aspect. The biological aspect of sexuality is what we can also call genital sex o yung biological sex. It refers to the sex act itself. And then the relational aspect of sexuality will refer to the relational aspects of love and sexuality. Paano po natin madidistinguish itong dalawang ito? When we talk about the biological aspect, it refers to the very sex act itself. Pero kapag pinag-usapan po natin ay yung tinatawag na relational or spiritual aspect of sexuality, we are talking about here of human values. Yung mga pagpapahalaga na kinakailangan nating buhayin sa ating sarili para tayo ay matutong magbigay ng sarili doon sa ating minamahal. This refers to the human values that we need to cultivate within us so that we can make ourselves a gift to the other person. Kaya nga po yun talagang ibig sabihin ng sex and sexuality. It comes from the Latin word seco or secare. At dalawa po ang ibig sabihin nun. Literally, it means to cut something into half. Kaya nga when we talk about sex, hinahati nito yung distinction between male and female. No? Para bang hinahati natin yung tao who is a male and who is a female. Pero in a deeper way, we understand sex as meaning, I break myself, I cut myself into half so that I can make of myself a gift for the other person. At ito yung gusto nating palalimin sa ating pag-uusap, to understand sexuality as our response to the call of God to be loving persons. Sexuality as our ability to make ourselves a gift for the other person. Let us now focus our attention on the two elements that we have enumerated. Sinabi natin kanina that there is what we call the biological aspect of sexuality, And then naman sa pangalawa yung tinatawag nating relational aspect of sexuality. When we talk of the biological aspect, ang pinag-uusapan po natin dito is the very sex act itself or the marital act between man and woman. At yun na lamang ang elementong na ilalagay natin doon. There is nothing more that we can add to that. But when we talk about the relational aspect of sexuality, we realize that we can actually put there a series of human values that will allow us to make ourselves a gift for the other person. Ano po yung mga halimbawa ng mga human values nito? Values like, for example, sensitivity, understanding, warmth, compassion, tenderness. Okay? At marami pa tayong pwedeng idagdag dito. No? These are just some examples that I gave you. What do I mean by sensitivity, for example? Hindi po ibig sabihin nito yung sinasabi nating balat sibuyas, na kapag ikaw ay nabati lang ng kaunti ay magdaramdam ka na agad. Hindi. When we say sensitivity, we are referring to our capacity to feel what the other person is feeling. Yung sinasabi nga natin, to put myself in the shoes of the other person. Kapag sinabi nating understanding, literally it means to stand under. Ibig sabihin, sinusuportahan mo yung taong minamahal mo. That is why when you feel understood, you feel also that you are supported. Tenderness, it is self-explanatory. I do not have to talk about that. Compassion, it comes from two Latin words, cum and pati. Cum means with. Pati is a verb that means to suffer. So when we talk about compassion, it deals with our ability to suffer with the other person. So ito po yung mga tinatawag nating human values that we need to train ourselves to so that we can make an act of self-donation. So obviously, yung relational aspect as compared to the biological aspect, mas mabigat kasi mas marami tayong elementong dapat na matutunan dito. Kaya from that perspective, we can actually derive many conclusions. And this is now what we call the Christian understanding of human sexuality. What is the first conclusion that we can derive? Okay. Number one, sexuality is broader than the sex act. Minsan kapag naririnig po natin yung salitang sex and sexuality, we usually interchange them. Na para bang hindi tayo nakakakita ng pagkakaiba sa kanila. But we must realize that sexuality is much, much bigger than the sex act. And if that is so, we are being invited therefore to focus our attention hindi lamang dun sa sex act, but on the bigger aspect which we call sexuality or the relational aspect of sexuality. Ang tendency po kasi natin is to be fixated on the biological, to be fixed on what is physical. Alam po ninyo, in the year 150, there was this astronomer named Claudius Ptolemy. And during that time, he gave a theory which he called geocentrism. Ano po ba yung geocentrism? Geo means the earth, and then centrism means the center. Okay? Sa teorya ni Claudius Ptolemy, sabi niya, the earth is the center of the universe. Yung ating daw daigdig ang siyang sentro ng buong mundo. And how did he come to that conclusion? Simple lang ang kanyang ginawa. He simply looked at his surroundings, he simply looked at what is physical, and then made his conclusion. Ang sabi kasi ni Ptolemy, when you look at the sun, you will realize that the sun rises in the east and it sets in the west. So by simply looking at the physical, he made the conclusion na siguro yung araw ay umiikot sa ating daigdig. Kasi sumisikat siya sa silangan at lumulubog sa kanluran. And that is why he came up with the theory called geocentrism. For many years, that was our belief. Yun ang ating pinaniniwalaan. Until another astronomer came along in the year 1543. Ang pangalan po niya ay si Nicholas Copernicus. Si Nicholas Copernicus, nagbigay siya ng bagong teorya, and he called it heliocentrism. Helio refers to the sun, yung araw, and then centrism means the center. So sabi niya, the earth is not the center of the universe, but the sun. Ngayon pwede po nating itinong, how did he come to that conclusion? Well, Copernicus came to that conclusion because he went beyond the physical. Hindi lamang siya nag-rely doon sa physical evidence, hindi lamang niya tiningnan yung physical na mundo. He used mathematical calculations, he used sophisticated instruments that allowed him to see beyond the naked eye, and therefore he discovered na hindi pala yung earth ang center ng mundo, kung hindi yung araw. And we are able to validate na yung theory ni Copernicus ang totoo at tunay. This is what we call the Copernican shift. Kasi for many years, for many centuries, we thought that Ptolemy was right until we discovered that Copernicus has something better to offer, and that is the truth. Alam po ninyo, when we talk about human sexuality, we also need to have a Copernican shift. Ano pong ibig ko sabihin dito? When we talk about human sexuality, we must not simply rely on the biological. Because if you only relied on the biological, just like Ptolemy, ang makikita mo lamang yung surface. Kapag you rely only on the biological, at best, you will only discover a half-truth. But if, like Copernicus, we go beyond the physical and see beyond what is apparent, then we will also discover what is true. And just like what the Bible says, Jesus, talking to his disciples, he said, "If you remain true to my words, you will become my disciples, and you will discover the truth, and the truth will set you free." Yun po yung kailangan natin gawin when we look upon human sexuality. Let us see what does the words of the Bible tell us about it, so that we can also discover the truth, and so that we will also be free men and women. So yun po yung una, sexuality is broader than the sex act. Second conclusion, we can say that if sexuality is broader than the sex act, we must not be fixated on the biological. Alam po ninyo, kapag tinignan mo yung lipunan natin ngayon, nagkalat yung mga tinatawag nating sexuality VCDs, yung mga sexuality gurus, no? Tinitingnan ko po minsan yung mga yan, no? Usually yung mga tinatawag nating sexy stars, ang mga nagiging sexuality guru, no? Pero kapag tinignan po natin itong mga bagay na ito, you will discover na kapag nanood ka ng television, the same sexuality gurus who claim to teach about sexuality ay linggo-linggo mapapanood mo sa television umiiyak, no? At nagrereklamo because of their failed relationships. Iniwan ni ganito, iniwan ni ganoon, sumama kay ganito at sumama sa ganoon. So it makes us wonder, para bang yung produktong kanilang ibinebenta is mukhang hindi naman talaga epektibo. Why? Because we realize that whenever they talk also about sexuality, what their main concern is simply to focus on the biological. Kaya naman ang pwedeng mangyari sa ating lipunan is we can develop a culture where people are sexual experts but relational idiots. Maaring masyado tayong maalam dun sa biological aspect of sexuality, pero dun sa relational aspect ay kulang na kulang tayo. That is why our relationships do not become fruitful. Instead, they become hurting, they become wounding, and we do not benefit from our relationship. We must not be fixated on the biological, because if we become fixated on the biological, at best, we will only discover the half-truth. Third conclusion, this is also just as important as the first two. When we talk about sexuality, we must realize that sexual activity does not guarantee a good relationship. Why? Because the relational aspects of sexuality is the foundation of a truly healthy sexuality. Sa mentalidad po natin ngayon, sinasabi natin na para ikaw ay maging ganap na tao at maging truly sexual person, sinasabi kailangan sexually active ka. But that is not necessarily true. Because there are many sexually active persons who do not necessarily have a healthy sexuality. No, for example, no, marami diyang mga rapists, mga sexual offenders. These are people who are very sexually active, pero siguro kayo na rin na makapagsasabi, mukhang distorted ang kanilang understanding of human sexuality. When we say that the relational aspect is the foundation of a healthy sexuality, what we are saying is this: good sex does not always equate to a good relationship. Alam po natin yan. May mga kalalakihan na pwedeng pumunta sa mga bahay-aliwan and they could have good sex there. Pero after that encounter, they go away. They do not even ask the name of the person na kanilang nakasalamuha, and therefore, no relationship is ever built. Pero we must realize that good sex does not lead to good relationship. On the contrary, it is a good relationship that will lead to a good experience of biological or genital sexuality. Kaya naman, pwede tayong paalalahanan na kung meron man tayong concern na dapat gawin, more focus should be given on the relational aspects of sexuality. Why? Because the biological aspect is such a powerful human experience. Naalala ko po yung pelikulang Karate Kid. At naalala ko doon yung isang tagpo, no? Yung si Daniel, no? Gusto niyang matuto ng karate. And then he went into a karate guru. Ang pangalan niya si Miyagi. And then Daniel said, no, please teach me karate. And then Miyagi said, sige, tuturuan kita. I will teach you. I will become your mentor. Come back here after one day. No? And then bumalik si Daniel, no, after one day. And then anong pinagawa sa kanya? Pinaglinis siya ng sahig. No? Ang sabi sa kanya, wax in, wax out. No? And then after a series of days doing that, pinauwi na siya. Walang nangyaring karate. And then pinabalik siya the next day. And then ano naman yung ginawa sa kanya? Pinagpintura siya. Paint in, paint out. No? Paulit-ulit pinagagawa sa kanya yon. And then si Daniel, unti-unti na siya nagtataka, ano bang ginagawa sa akin ito? Hindi naman ako tinuturuan ng karate. Until dumating na yung point na nagreklamo na siya, sinabi niya, Miyagi, ano bang gusto mong gawin sa akin? You're not teaching me karate. And then Miyagi actually said, yes, I'm not teaching you karate, but I am teaching you the values that you need in order that you may use karate well. Ganun din po sa human sexuality. Kasi yung karate, that's a very powerful weapon na kapag ibinigay sa'yo without the value foundation, you will use that skill in a destructive way. Alam po ninyo, when we talk about human sexuality, dapat ganun din. Sex is such a powerful human experience. Sex is such a powerful personal experience, and we need values in order to help us experience them well. So that's the third conclusion. Fourth conclusion. The relational aspect of sexuality is supposed to be the goal and end point of the biological. What do I mean by this? Let me give you a concrete example. Every biological fatherhood should lead into a spiritual fatherhood. Ano po bang ibig sabihin ng biological fatherhood? Biological fatherhood simply means that I am the biological father of this particular child. But when we say spiritual fatherhood, it refers to a fatherhood which goes beyond the biological. Ang tinutukoy natin dito ay yung isang ama na patuloy na nagtuturo, isang ama na patuloy na gumagabay, isang ama na patuloy na sumusuporta doon sa kanyang anak, at hindi lamang doon sa kanya, kundi doon sa kanyang pamilya o sa kanyang asawa. That is what we call spiritual fatherhood. And biological fatherhood will only become meaningful if it leads to a spiritual fatherhood. Kaya naman madali nating maunawaan kung bakit ang mga patron ng lahat ng mga ama ay si San Jose. Is Saint Joseph the biological father of Jesus? Alam nating hindi. But Saint Joseph was more father to all the biological fathers in the world. Why? Because he took care of the Holy Family and gave his life for the sake of the Holy Family. Alam natin yung istorya ni Saint Joseph. Bago sila nagsama ni Maria, natagpuan niya na si Maria ay naglilihi at nagdadalang tao. Ngayon, alam natin na sa kultura ng mga Hudyo noon, kapag ang babae ay natagpuang naglilihi bago pa sila nagsama, anong sinasabi ng batas? Itong babaeng ito ay dapat batuhin hanggang mamatay. And Saint Joseph was aware of that. That is why he said, I will not expose Mary to the law. Siguro nang mabalitaan ni St. Joseph na naglilihis si Maria bago pa man sila nagsama, siguro he felt betrayed. Siguro yung pride niya nasaktan. Pwede niyang sabihin na naunahan yata ako ng ibang mga kalalakihan. Pero hindi yun ang inisip ni St. Joseph. Ang inisip niya ay si Maria. Sabi niya, dahil minamahal ko si Maria, I will not expose her to the law, and therefore I will forget my own desires. I will forget my own condition. That is a true father. Someone who is ready to lay down his life for those whom he loves. At kaya naman hindi nakapagtataka nung si Jesus ay lumalaki na, isa sa mga pinakamagandang turo niya nang sinabi niya, no greater love a man can have than to give his life for his friends. This is what we call relational sexuality. A sexuality that makes himself a gift for the other. No? And every biological fatherhood should lead into that. Kaya mahalaga yung sinasabi nating relational because it is the relational aspect of sexuality that gives direction and meaning to the biological aspect. Alam po ninyo, we can compare the biological aspect or genital sex because it is very powerful to siguro a wave, no? Isang malakas na alon. Pero tanungin ko kayo, paano natin ma-appreciate ang ganda ng isang malakas na alon? Kailangan merong seashore. Okay? Dahil kapag nawala ang seashore that will control the movements of the waves, anong mangyayari dyan? Tsunami ang tawag natin dyan. At kapag nawala yung seashore that gives direction and limit to the movements of the waves become destructive. The waves become fatal. We cannot appreciate its beauty. Pero kapag nandyan yung pampang, yung seashore, it is the one that gives movement, direction, and limit. At dahil nagkakaroon ng direction, nagkakaroon ng limit, we are able to appreciate the beauty and the power of a roaring wave or a flowing water. Ganun ang papel na ginagampanan ng relational aspect of sexuality. That is why every biological sexuality must have it as its goal and endpoint. Lastly, we must say that in time, the biological aspect of sexuality will end. And what will remain? Only the relational. Alam po ninyo, recently I came upon an article in the Inquirer. This is a story about a couple. Ang pangalan po nila si Wawel, yung lalaki, at ang asawa niya ay si Mila. Okay? Right after their giving birth to their daughter, si Mila nagkaroon ng complication. Yung amniotic fluid dun po sa kanyang womb went to her brain. And because of that, she became totally and completely paralyzed. Kung makikita ninyo si Mila ngayon, she is forever confined to a wheelchair, unable to speak, unable to move, unable to communicate the way she used to. Pero alam po ninyo maganda, kahit na ganoon yung sitwasyon ni Mila, most of the time, Wawel would bring him out to the mall. In fact, there was even one event where isinali niya si Mila sa isang fun run. Itinutulak niya yung wheelchair ni Mila and they were able to win second place in that marathon. Maganda yung sinabi ni Wawel, and this came out in one major periodical. Ang sabi niya, ever since Mila has had this condition, sabi niya, we have had no sex life since then. That struck me. Pero sinabi niya, romantic love is so temporary. It asks something in return. And this happened so many years ago. Pero hanggang ngayon, patuloy pa rin niyang inaalagaan yung kanyang asawa. Now, let me ask you a question. What binds these two people together? Obviously, we can say it is the relational aspect of sexuality. Nawala na yung biological, naglaho na yung genital aspect, but the relationship remains as strong as ever. Why? Because we believe that the relational aspect is just as strong. Kaya po ako naniniwala that the church is right when she teaches that the best preparation for marriage is still a chaste friendship. Kasi kapag masasabi natin na, can I enjoy in a real way, in a genuine way, the company of this person, even without first the benefit of genital attraction or the biological aspect, then you can be sure that when you enter into a relationship, that kind of a pattern will continue. Kapag nagtatayo tayo ng tahanan, ang una nating tinatayo ay yung pundasyon, because it is also the foundation that truly lasts. When we talk about human sexuality, when we talk about human relationships, we must also first build the foundation. And the foundation is nothing else but the relational aspects of sexuality. So those are the conclusions that we have drawn. And as we continue with our discussion, we will deal now with a more biblical description of human sexuality. We will deal now with a more detailed discussion of human sexuality based on some teachings of the doctrines of the church. At the beginning of our discussion, we dealt on the more philosophical discussion of human sexuality. At this point, we will deal on the more biblical and the more theological discussion. Para tulungan tayo na maunawaan ito, we will give a working definition of what human sexuality is. And let me say it this way, borrowing the teachings of John Paul II in his teaching, The Theology of the Body. Human sexuality is our capacity as human persons to enter into life-giving, love-giving relationships in and through the body in ways that are appropriate. Apat na elemento po ang mahalaga dito at iisa-isahin ko. First, human sexuality is our human capacity as persons. Second, to enter into love-giving and life-giving relationships. Third, in and through the body. And lastly, in ways that are appropriate. Let us deal with the first one. At ang mahalagang maunawaan po natin dito is we want to emphasize when we say that it is a human experience of sexuality. Why the need to emphasize that? Siguro po magandang tingnan natin at balikan yung tinatawag natin creation stories in the book of Genesis. Paano ba tayo nilikha ng Diyos? At ano ba ang balak ng Diyos nung nilikha niya ang lalaki at ang babae? In Genesis 1, verse 27 and following, it says there, God created them male and female. In His own image, He created them. Male and female, He created them. Mahalaga po dun yung linyang sinasabing, we are created in the image of God. At yung stories of creation, mapapansin natin, ito yung pinapaalala sa atin. For example, when you look at every story of creation, every act of creation by God always ends with the phrase, and God looked at what He has created, and it was good. For example, after the first act of creation, nung masabing nilikha ng Diyos ang langit at ang lupa, God looked at what He has created, and it was good. Second day of creation, third day of creation, until the fifth day of creation, laging ganun sinasabi, God looked at what He has created, and it was good. Then finally, on the sixth day, the Bible says, male and female, God created them. And then in verse 31, in Genesis 1:31, it says, God looked at what He has created, and it was very good. I think we should notice that. From the first 5 days of creation, creation was only good. But with the appearance of male and female, of man and woman, creation became very good. Hindi po ito basta topographical error lamang ng banal na kasulatan. Merong gustong ipaalala sa atin yung banal na Biblia. At ano po iyon? Na ang tao ang pinakarurok ng paglilikha ng Diyos. God is manifested as wisdom and power through the creation of man and woman. Kaya ang paalala po sa atin dito, yung tao ay hindi natin pwedeng ipantay sa level ng mga hayop. God or man, cannot be put at the level of the animals and the rest of the animal kingdom. It is the same with our experience of sexuality. Kasi po, when you look at the beings in the animal kingdom, meron din silang experience of sexuality. Meron din silang experience of eros. Meron din silang experience of passions, drives, and instincts. Pero anong pagkakaiba nito sa tao? For the animals, they experience their drives by chance. Pero pagdating sa tao, we experience our drives by choice. Bakit? Because of that spiritual element in the human person who is created in the image of God. We are gifted with reason, we are gifted with intellect, we are gifted with a will. Kaya we experience and regulate our sexuality not only by chance but by choice. In the animal kingdom, they experience their sexuality, their passions and drives by season. Kapag sinasabi nating panahon ng taggutom, kakain at kakain ang isang hayop. Kaya wala ka naman makikitang hayop na mag-aayuno o magfa-fasting simply because they do not have that capacity. Kapag tinatawag nating mating season na, the animals have no power over it. No? Kaya kahit na saan sila abutin, doon mangyayari yon because it is a mating season. But when we go to the experience of the human person, sexuality is regulated not by season, but by reason. Why? Because the human person is the closest being that resembles God in this world. We are created in the image and likeness of God. Kaya mahalaga yung sinasabi nating our experience of sexuality is a human experience. Ngayon pwede nating itanong, kung gano'n naman Father, ibig sabihin ba niyan mawawala na yung excitement at drive doon sa ating experience of passions? Hindi. The Bible does not take away our experience of excitement and passion in our sexuality. But there is a difference. Let me illustrate it this way. Alam niyo po, minsan, yung aking pamangkin nagpunta sa kwarto ko. At dahil ako po ay mahilig mag-gitara, doon po sa kwarto ko I keep 2 guitars. And then yung pamangkin ko, in his excitement and in his spontaneity, kinuha yung gitara. And then, in all spontaneity, kinaskas niya yung gitara. Needless to say, masakit sa tenga ang lumabas. But he was very spontaneous. He was very excited. Pero alam niyo po, kapag ako ang humawak ng gitarang yon, hindi naman sa pagmamayabang, dahil marunong po akong mag-gitara, I can be as spontaneous, I can be as excited, pero I can create a beautiful music out of it. Not an irritating noise. What is the difference? Both of us are spontaneous. Both of us were excited. Pero bakit magkaiba ang lumabas? The first one, it was an experience of undisciplined spontaneity. A spontaneity without discipline. But in my case, it was a disciplined spontaneity. A trained spontaneity, a reasoned spontaneity. Ganon din po in our experience of sexuality. The Bible does not take away the excitement. The Bible does not take away the spontaneity, but we are being reminded to include something else that will put direction in the excitement and spontaneity. And that is what we call the relational aspects, the spiritual aspects that will help us direct human sexuality as a human experience. So that's the first point. It is a human experience. Second point of our definition, we say, sexuality is our capacity as human persons to enter into love-giving and life-giving relationships. Ano po bang ibig sabihin ng life-giving? Traditionally, this is what the church calls the procreative meaning of marriage and sexuality. Procreative because it refers to our capacity or the capacity of man and woman to practice the marital act out of which children will be born. Kaya natin tinatawag na life-giving o procreative. Kaya naman kung babalikan din natin uli yung stories of creation, ano yung mapapansin natin? In Genesis 1 verse 27, it says there, God created them male and female. Bakit kaya male ang ginamit? Bakit kaya female? Why not man? Why not woman? When you look at the term male and female, obviously mapapansin natin, male and female are terms which denote physical difference of the sexes. Yung pagkakaiba ng lalaki at babae. A difference that flows into a complementarity. At kaya yun yung salitang ginamit sa banal na kasulatan para ipakita sa atin na unang-una ang lalaki at babae ay magkaiba. And because they are different, they can complete one another. At yung pagiging lalaki at yung babae, ito yung nagiging daan para sila ay magtalik, magsama, at kung saan lalabas, magbubunga ng isang supling. So the terms male and female denote our sexual, physical differences. Kaya naman po ba, di po ba kapag tayo ay pumipirma ng, for example, when you're applying for a job, or when you are applying, filling up a application form, kapag tinanong doon ano ang sex, we put there male or female. We do not say man or woman. Bakit? Kasi the terms male and female denote the physical, sexual differences. At yun din ang dahilan why that is the term used in the Bible. Because God wants to emphasize that there is a purpose and meaning in being male and female. It is not an accident of nature na bigla ka nalang isinilang na ganoon lalaki at babae. Hindi. At ano yung purpose? To procreate and the conception of children. Kaya naman hindi nakapagtataka na that is in Genesis 1:27. But when you look at Genesis 1:28, no, just one verse later, sinabi na agad ng Biblia ang purpose ng sexuality. God said to Adam and Eve, "Go forth, fill the earth, subdue it, and multiply." So after stating the sexual differences between male and female, Genesis 1:28 speaks of the purpose of that difference. Life-giving, procreative. Okay. Secondly, sinabi nating love-giving relationships. Ano naman pong ibig sabihin ng love-giving? This refers to our capacity to unite ourselves with another person. Genesis 2:24 says, "For this reason, a man shall leave father and mother and cling to his wife, and the two of them shall become one flesh." Again, mapapansin po ninyo, ang ginamit na term dito is no longer male. The male became a man. And it is no longer female, the female became wife. Bakit? Because man and wife are relational terms. They denote the relationship that is supposed to be characterized by fidelity, commitment, and a relationship that is supposed to be forever. Kaya naman mapapansin ninyo in Genesis 2:24, sabi doon, "A man shall leave father and mother." Biro mo yon, you must be willing to turn your back on your original family because you are now being called to establish a new and your own family. At again, bakit man ang ginamit? Because only a man can be faithful. A boy cannot be faithful. A male person cannot be simply faithful. It takes a man and a woman to be faithful. It takes a man and a woman to be committed. It takes a man and a woman to be responsible in creating and building up these love-giving relationships. Kaya naman pala when we talk about the love-giving relationship of sexuality, ang tinutukoy po natin dito is our capacity to enter into a covenant and not simply a contract. Ano po ba yung pagkakaiba ng covenant and a contract? For a contract, there is merely an exchange of, well, sabi na natin, kalakal or goods. But in a covenant, it is different. What we exchange are not goods. There is an exchange of persons. Yung kontrata, ganito ang lengguwahe. That is mine, and this is yours. But in a covenant, we say, I am yours, and you are mine. Hindi po ba yan ang sinabi ng Diyos sa bayang Israel? In the covenant that Yahweh entered into, Yahweh says, "I will be your God, and you will be my people." That is a covenant. And what results in a covenant? The product of a covenant is a family. While in a contract, the product is simply an economy. Makikita natin ang kahulugan nito sa human sexuality because sexuality is our capacity to enter into that relationship which is supposed to be a covenant of marriage. A covenant marked by commitment and fidelity. So that is what we mean by life-giving and love-giving relationships. Genesis 1 speaks of the life-giving or the procreative meaning, while Genesis 2 speaks of the love-giving or the unitive meaning of human sexuality. Let us now go to the third element of our definition, and it is in and through the body. When we talk about human sexuality, mahalagang maunawaan natin na yung ating katawan ay kasot dito. And even if you look at the Bible, the body is given an important place in the creation of man and woman. Again, balikan po natin yung sinasabi sa Genesis 1 verse 27. It says there, God created man in His own image, male and female He created them according to His own image. Again, male and female. Ano yung unang conclusion na makikita natin dito? First of all, man is not asexual. Ano pong ibig sabihin ng term na asexual? Ang ibig sabihin po nito ay walang kasarian. Alam po ninyo, kapag tinignan mo yung lipunan natin ngayon, alam natin na isa yan sa mga nangyayari ngayon, that we want to deny or to ignore the differences between man and woman, or between male and female. Pero kapag tinignan natin ang banal na kasulatan, you will discover the context with which male and female emerge. At ano po yung konteksto? The very first word of the book of Genesis says, in the beginning there was total chaos and a lack of order. Napakagulo, walang kaayusan. And because of that, God intervened and put order into the world. It became good. Pero the last part of God's creation, the emergence of male and female, made the world that was totally chaotic and lack of order, it became very good. So ang ibig sabihin nito, it was the emergence of male and female that really put the ultimate order, beauty in the world. Kaya nga yung lalaki at babae is the manifestation of God's wisdom, of God's creative power, of God's capacity to put order into chaos. Kaya po kapag dinideny natin ang pagkakaiba ng lalaki at babae, it's like we want to plunge the world again into its original chaos and disorder. Kapag dinideny natin yung difference between male and female, it's like sinasabi natin, siguro ang Diyos nalito rin. Na para bang ang Diyos wala rin capacity to put order into what He is doing. Kapag sinasabi natin, actually, lalaki ako, kaya lang nakulong sa katawang babae. O ako ay babae na nakulong sa katawang lalaki. It's as if we are telling God, okay, God made a mistake. No? It was not supposed to be this way. Pero parang hindi yata ganoon ang sinasabi ng banal na kasulatan. So that's the first thing that we can learn from that. Man is not asexual. And the body with which God gave us is not an accident of nature, but a part of the creative power and order of God's wisdom. Secondly, kapag sinabi nating in and through the body, we realize that the complementarity and difference between male and female ay may kahulugan din. Sabi ng scriptures, we are created in the image of God. And who is God? God is a communion of persons. Ngayon, bakit tayo binigyan ng katawan na magkakaiba pero complementary? So that we too can establish a communion of persons. So that kung paanong God is a communion of persons, the union of male and female will also mirror in the world the communion that exists in the life of God. Kaya mahalaga yung difference and complementarity. Ito yung tinatawag ni John Paul II na through the difference between male and female, they are able to establish the essence of the gift. Ano po ba yung gift? Kapag nagbibigay po tayo ng regalo, usually ang tinatanong natin, di ba, ano ba yung bagay na wala pa siya? Ano ba yung bagay na pwede kong ibigay sa kanya na wala pa sa kanya para makumpleto siya? Hindi ka magbibigay ng isang bagay na meron na siya. Kasi kapag ang binigay mo ay meron na siya, it will simply be a redundancy. And the essence of the gift will not be appreciated. It is the same with sexuality. Masculinity gives to femininity what femininity does not have. And femininity will give to masculinity that which it does not have. At kapag nangyari yon, the essence of the gift is being lived out. Talagang nagkakaroon ng tunay na ibigayan. Kasi naman kung pareho tayong lalaki, anong ibibigay mo sa akin? Hindi ba't meron din naman ako ng lahat ng meron ka? At kung pareho din naman kayong babae, ano naman ang maibibigay mo sa kanya? The essence of gift is lost the communion of persons is not celebrated. Kaya mahalaga yung we look upon the body not simply as an accident of nature, but even a part of God's call for us to mirror in the world yung communion of persons. And then last element of in and through the body, kapag sinabi po natin na yung katawan ay sangkot sa pagsasabuhay ng ating sexuality, in our vocation to love, hindi nun ibig sabihin na, for example, kung kayo ay mag-asawa, laging magkadikit kayo in a physical way. It does not mean physical proximity. Because even in physical distance, you can still continue to love one another in a bodily way. Pwede mong sabihin, paano nangyari yung Father? Let me make you and give you an example. Halimbawa, may isang lalaki na nagtatrabaho sa ibang bansa. Meron siyang pamilyang naiwan dito sa Pilipinas. No? And because he lives alone in that place, hindi natin maialis na minsan mayroong mga temptasyon, minsan siguro may mga ibang mga babaeng umaaligid-aligid sa kanya. And it is a real temptation, a temptation that the man will feel in his own body. But when he controls and when he overcomes that temptation, at sinabi niya sa sarili niya, wife, I love my family, and therefore I will overcome this temptation. I will control this in a way that I really suffer in my body. That is still a bodily way of expressing his love for his wife. Okay? So kahit na sila ay magkalayo, the sacrifice, the control that he feels in his own body is a bodily way of expressing love for his wife. At hindi lang po yan sa mga mag-asawa, kahit naman sa mga tao na nasa buhay relihiyoso, in the religious life. For example, celibate persons. Ako po bilang pare, hindi naman nawawala yung nararamdaman ko sa aking katawan. No? But the sacrifice that I feel in my body is also a way of expressing my love for the church. It's also a bodily way of expressing my love for God's people in and through the body. Kaya makikita po natin sa buhay ng mag-asawa, when they live out their sexuality, abstinence and continence also plays a very special part. At yun ay nangyayari not only in times that they are physically together, but also in times that they are physically apart. Last element of our definition, we say, in ways that are appropriate. Tanong natin, appropriate to what? Appropriate to one's age and appropriate to one's stage of life. Alam po ninyo, isa sa nangyayari sa lipunan natin ngayon, maobserbahan mo to pag manood ka ng telebisyon. Minsan yung mga napakabata pa lamang, no? Ay pinagpaparis-paris na para bang kahit na mga bata pa lamang, kailangan meron na silang individual partners. What happens? Adolescence or childhood becomes a time not of growing up, but pairing up. Para bang ganun pa lamang pinagpaparis-paris. Pero hindi. Adolescence should be a time of self-discovery. Yung matuklasan mo muna ang iyong sarili. Dahil kapag natuklasan mo ang iyong sarili, that is the only time that you can give this self to another person. Kaya nga meron tayong kasabihan, you cannot give that which you do not have. So kung hindi mo paggamay at hawak ang iyong sarili, ang iyong pagkatao, hindi mo rin maibibigay ang pagkatao na ito sa ibang tao. That is why loving and living out our sexuality presupposes a certain age of maturity. Childhood and adolescence is a time to discover myself first, to love myself first, in order that I may truly give it to another person once I have discovered it. Kaya pala sinasabi ng kanta, no? Learning to love yourself is the greatest love of all. Why? Because if you do not love yourself first and you have not discovered yourself first, ang mangyayari niyan, you will be using the other person for your own fulfillment. And relationship becomes wounding. Relationship becomes destructive. So yun po yung mga apat na elemento ng ating definition. Sexuality is our human capacity as persons to enter into love-giving and life-giving relationships in and through the body in ways that are appropriate. Sana po sa ating pag-uusap na ito, we will really learn to appreciate the meaning of these terms, so that we will also appreciate the meaning of God's vocation to us that we call human sexuality. Madalas sinasabi sa simbahan, bakit ba hindi na lang manatili sa religion ng simbahan? Bakit kailangan pang magsalita sila tungkol sa sexuality? Precisely, when the church speaks about human sexuality, it is speaking about something that is religious. Because sexuality is of a religious matter. Because sexuality is God's gift for all of us. So let me end our discussion by posing to you these questions. What comes to your mind now when you hear the word man? What comes to your mind when you hear the word woman? What comes to your mind when you hear the word male or female? Ano ngayon na naalala mo kapag narinig mo ang salitang sex or sexuality? And what comes to your mind when you hear the word love and the body? Sana sa pagtatapos ng ating pag-uusap, nakatulong ako para magkaroon ng konting pangunawa, no? At konting pagpapayaman, no? Sa ating pangunawa ng mga bagay-bagay na ito. But if you want to learn more, no, from what we have shared, no, let me take this opportunity to invite you to attend, no, this continuous form we give. We call it SAFE. No? It is an acronym for Subtle Attacks Against the Family Explained. And we have some regular schedules wherein all the other topics, no, related to family life and concerns are being discussed by competent speakers. Doon po sa St. Michael's Retreat House sa Antipolo, we have a SAFE seminar scheduled every third weekend of the month. Dito naman po sa Lay Formation Center within San Carlos Seminary, we have also a SAFE seminar scheduled every second weekend of the month. But this happens every 2 months. So once again, I thank you for giving me your attention. I am Father Joel. Live a fruitful life.